The U.S. seized a tanker recently. Russia specifically asked the United States not to seize that tanker. Does this action risk a larger conflict with Russia?
I believe you're referring to the Bella 1 tanker that was seized this morning. The Department of Justice and the Department of Homeland Security, in coordination with the Department of War, did announce that seizure this morning for violations of U.S. sanctions. I would also just add the vessel had a judicial seizure order, and the crew, so that means the crew is now subject to prosecution for any applicable violation of federal law, and they will be brought to the United States for such prosecution if necessary.
Oil tanker ships Bella 1 and Sophia were busted by the U.S. forces on 7th January 2026. However, the chase to hunt them started 2 weeks back. Bella 1 was sanctioned by the U.S. in 2024 and subjected to a seizure warrant, accused of illegally transporting Iranian oil. Washington said the vessel was part of a so-called shadow fleet or ghost fleet, carrying oil for countries such as Venezuela, Russia, and Iran to avoid sanctions on oil.
The vessel this morning was seized in the North Atlantic pursuant to a warrant issued by a U.S. federal court after being tracked. And this was a Venezuelan shadow fleet vessel that has transported sanctioned oil. And the United States of America, under this president, is not going to tolerate that.
Bella 1 began its journey in November last year, sailing from the Gulf of Oman through the Suez Canal and Strait of Gibraltar before crossing the Atlantic in early December. It was approaching the Caribbean Sea at a time of increasing hostilities between the U.S. and Venezuela.
And we're not going to stand by and watch sanctioned vessels sail the seas with black market oil, the proceeds of which will fuel narco-terrorism of rogue and illegitimate regimes around the world.
Then, in December 10, when the Trump administration seized its first oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela, Bella 1, on December 21, abruptly turned and headed north towards Europe. However, the British surveillance aircraft tipped off the American forces about the Bella 1 ship. And then, in the early hours of January 7th, as the tanker traveled through the waters between Iceland and Scotland, a stream of U.S. aircraft descended on the vessel, supported by forces from the U.K.
We firmly condemn the seizure by U.S. troops of petroleum tankers and the effective imposition of a blockade on Venezuela. The acts by the U.S. side run counter to all key norms of international law, including the UN Convention on Law of the Sea, Security Council resolutions, and the Charter itself of the United Nations.